Don't miss the rest of this series. Hit that subscribe button now to stay updated with stories that matter. Now imagine this. What if I told you that one of the world's poorest countries has quietly turned its trash into a $20 million national treasure? No, this isn't fiction. This is Burkina Faso. In a world where waste usually rots in forgotten landfills or pollutes rivers, one African nation has flipped the entire narrative. Trash is no longer the end of the line. It's the start of something extraordinary. In today's video, we'll uncover how this overlooked country is transforming garbage into gold, one recycled bottle, bag, and battery at a time. But more importantly, we'll show how an entire nation, its women, its youth, its leaders, have built a future from what the world threw away. And it all started with one radical shift: seeing trash not as a problem, but as an opportunity. Just 3 years ago, Captain Ibrahim Traoré assumed leadership of Burkina Faso amidst instability, economic hardship, and a worsening climate crisis. Most governments around the world were talking about carbon credits, climate conferences, and long-term environmental targets. But Burkina Faso didn't have the luxury of time or capital. It needed immediate solutions, ones that came from the ground up. What emerged was nothing short of revolutionary. Across dusty neighborhoods in Ouagadougou and beyond, plastic bottles once tossed into gutters now hum through sorting machines. Tin cans are crushed, old tires repurposed, food waste turned to compost. From the outside, it might look like cleanup. But for those on the inside, this is economic reinvention. Trash has become industry. And not just any industry, a booming, people-powered, $20 million engine of innovation. As global waste piles up, Burkina Faso has done something rare. It carved out a slice of the $1.6 trillion global waste economy using its own discarded material. While the rest of the world debates climate change, Burkina Faso is fighting it head-on, bottle by bottle, job by job. Young entrepreneurs who once dreamed of fleeing to Europe now build businesses in plastic upcycling and e-waste dismantling. Micro-enterprises send carts down unpaved alleys, collecting scrap metal door to door. Women's cooperatives spin textile waste into stylish bags now sold across West Africa. This isn't just good news, it's a wake-up call. If trash can power an economy, what else are we overlooking? Every kilogram processed means less pollution, less poverty, and more prosperity. People aren't just earning money, they're reclaiming dignity. And all this is possible not through imported solutions, but local creativity, policy reform, and a cultural awakening. That's what makes this story so powerful. It's not charity, it's change. Real, lasting change. Burkina Faso didn't wait for climate funding or high-tech imports. It found solutions in its streets, in its communities, and in the very things others considered worthless. And this is only the beginning. Stick with us, because what comes next will challenge everything you think you know about waste, work, and wealth. Be sure to hit the like button if this inspired you so far, and tell us in the comments, do you believe your country could turn trash into treasure? Now let's go deeper. Across Burkina Faso, the hum of recycling machines now mixes with the sounds of everyday life. This isn't a fancy government lab or a foreign-funded industrial park. It's the neighborhoods, the markets, the alleyways, ordinary places now pulsing with extraordinary purpose. On the fringes of cities like Bobo Dioulasso and Ouagadougou, women's cooperatives are leading the charge. They aren't just collecting waste, they're redefining what leadership looks like in this new economy. These are women who were once invisible in the formal workforce. Single mothers, widows, women with no previous income. Today, they run recycling hubs, train new recruits, manage finances, and export products to neighboring countries. It's not a side hustle. It's a movement. One shining example is the Recycle Fee Collective. It started with just 10 women and has grown into a powerhouse, employing over 150 individuals. They take discarded plastic bags, yes, the same ones that once choked gutters and ruined farmland, and transform them into stylish mats, backpacks, and even designer handbags that now show up in shops as far away as Dar es Salaam and Abidjan. Imagine that. What was once considered garbage now sits in boutique displays under bright lights. This transformation hasn't gone unnoticed. The government and non-governmental organizations have stepped in, not to lead, but to support what was already working. Grants, microloans, and training programs now prioritize female-led waste ventures. It's a new form of empowerment, one not rooted in slogans, but in skill, sweat, and sustainability. These women aren't just earning income, they're earning respect. They're no longer excluded from national planning, they're shaping it. And the ripple effect is massive. Vocational schools are updating curricula to teach waste innovation. Young girls now see recycling not as dirty work, but as an honorable, vital profession. Communities that once hid their trash are now proudly presenting it, knowing that within each bag lies the seed of economic growth. If you find this story as powerful as we do, drop a comment below and tell us what your city is doing with its waste. Your voice could inspire someone across the globe. And don't forget to subscribe. These are the stories that change how we see the world. As the trash-to-cash movement gains momentum, something else is shifting quietly but powerfully. Dignity, purpose, confidence. These aren't just economic metrics, they're human realities. And nowhere is this more visible than in how the waste revolution has rewritten the role of women. Because when women lead, families follow, and when families rise, nations transform. That's the story of Burkina Faso. Not a perfect country, not a rich one, but a brave one. One that said, "We will build with what we have, even if all we have is waste." In the next part, we'll explore how this transformation is tackling one of the planet's biggest threats, climate change. Not in theory, but in real, measurable, powerful action. Keep watching. While much of the world sits in conference rooms debating climate goals and carbon credits, Burkina Faso is taking action on the ground, one piece of trash at a time. The country isn't waiting for solutions to arrive. It's building them from the very materials others discard. And the results are undeniable. In a region long battered by desertification and erratic weather, this small nation has managed to cut over 120,000 tons of CO2 emissions every year simply by managing its waste better. That's not a projection. That's reality. In rural provinces, composting centers now turn food scraps and organic matter into fertilizer. That same fertilizer is boosting crop yields by over 30%, giving farmers a second chance at feeding their communities and regrowing the soil. Where once land lay barren, now green shoots rise. It's a revolution rooted in regeneration. And it doesn't stop at compost. Car tires that once sat burning by the roadside and used motor oil that poisoned the earth are now repurposed into biofuels. These fuels power local transport and small-scale machinery, giving mobility and energy to communities far from any power grid. Meanwhile, at the University of Ouagadougou, students are developing solar-powered incinerators, high-tech machines designed to break down plastic without releasing toxic fumes. These are young minds focused not on leaving their country, but on lifting it. All of this has been made possible not just through innovation, but through mindset. A national push to see trash not as a problem, but as a solution. Schools are integrating environmental education. Local leaders are embedding recycling into policy. Climate action isn't a luxury here, it's a necessity. And out of that necessity has come brilliance. What makes Burkina Faso's model so unique is that it's deeply local and fiercely independent. It doesn't rely on foreign systems to function. It's built for and by its own people. And that's why it works. The world could learn something here, especially now when the climate crisis is no longer distant. It's here, it's urgent, and it demands fresh thinking. If you believe this kind of local genius deserves more attention, hit the like button now and share this video. And if your own community is doing something powerful for the planet, tell us in the comments. Your story matters. Let's build a conversation. Because every action, no matter how small, can ignite change. And what Burkina Faso teaches us is simple. You don't need to be rich to be resourceful. You just need to care enough to begin. In the next chapter, we'll turn our lens to the youth, the heartbeat of this transformation. Young people who are turning waste into careers, into purpose, into national pride. Don't miss it. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss the stories that inspire and uplift. In a world where the younger generation is often accused of being disconnected, passive, or lost in screens, Burkina Faso is showing a different picture, one filled with energy, purpose, and progress. The youth of this resilient nation are at the forefront of a quiet green revolution, using the power of waste not only to clean their streets, but to secure their futures. Thousands of young people, many of whom once saw no choice but to emigrate for work, are now staying home and building businesses. Not just dreams, but enterprises. This is the story of a generation that chose to turn local problems into national pride. In cities like Ouagadougou and Tenkodogo, tech-savvy graduates are developing apps that connect households with local waste collectors in real time. One standout is Green Faso, a youth-led innovation that works like a ride-sharing app, but for garbage. With the push of a button, a family can schedule a trash pickup, track it, and even earn reward points redeemable at local grocery stores. That's right, recycling here means feeding your family. But this isn't just about tech. It's about systems that work. Young welders and mechanics are building collection trikes powered by solar panels. Designers are turning scrap plastic into functional furniture. Vocational schools have begun offering courses in eco-manufacturing, environmental coding, and sustainable logistics. It's a full ecosystem, driven not by foreign grants or imported solutions, but by homegrown grit, and the results speak volumes. In just 2 years, youth unemployment in several districts has dropped by over 15%. That's not a statistic, it's a lifeline, a reason for hope, a foundation for dignity. Because let's be clear, managing waste isn't dirty work here, it's nation building. These young men and women don't just see garbage, they see opportunity, responsibility, even identity. They are proud to be the generation cleaning up the past and building the future. With over 70% of Burkina Faso's population under the age of 30, this movement is more than a phase. It is the new direction. And unlike many temporary aid programs that fade away, this youth-led transformation is rooted deeply in purpose, culture, and community. It's not charity, it's legacy. If you're watching this and wondering whether young people in your country could lead a movement like this, take a moment to reflect. Then leave us a comment. We want to hear your thoughts. Could this model work in your hometown? Would your local government support such ideas? And don't forget, subscribe now to follow more inspiring stories like this one. Because what's happening in Burkina Faso is more than a cleanup. It's a comeback. And it's powered by a generation that refuses to be left behind. In the next part, we'll look beyond Burkina Faso's borders. Because this movement isn't staying contained. It's spreading. And the world is starting to pay attention. What began as a local initiative, born from necessity and driven by people power, is now attracting the eyes of the world. Burkina Faso's waste-to-wealth model is no longer just a national achievement. It's becoming an international case study. Delegations from Niger, Ghana, Senegal, and even parts of Europe are visiting its grassroots recycling centers, walking the dusty paths where innovation meets resilience. They aren't coming to deliver aid. They're coming to learn. That in itself marks a turning point. For decades, Africa was seen as a place in need of help, of instruction. But now, from the forgotten corners of Burkina Faso, the world is witnessing a new kind of leadership. One that isn't flashy, but effective. One that doesn't rely on massive infrastructure, but on scalable, human-centered systems. Think decentralized recycling hubs, mobile applications for real-time waste routing, and profit-sharing models that include even the informal workers who once lived in the shadows of society. Burkina Faso is showing that dignity and innovation can flourish even in low-resource environments, and that message is starting to spread. The government, in partnership with regional bodies like ECOWAS, is actively exporting this model to its West African neighbors. But it doesn't stop at theory, it's practice. Actual exports are already taking place. Eco-friendly bricks made from construction waste are being sold abroad. Upcycled fashion items crafted by women's cooperatives are appearing in boutiques across borders. Burkina Faso isn't just participating in the circular economy, it's leading, and people are noticing. At a recent climate summit in Nairobi, Burkina Faso was named one of the top 5 African nations driving climate innovation through waste management. Imagine that, a country often dismissed as unstable or impoverished, now standing on global platforms as a pioneer. And it doesn't end there. International development banks, environmental NGOs, and even private tech investors from Silicon Valley are now approaching the country, not with charity, but with proposals. They want to collaborate, to partner, to invest. Waste, it turns out, has become a tool of diplomacy. Burkina Faso is strengthening alliances not through political maneuvering, but through innovation that works. And that changes everything, because it shifts the global narrative. No longer is this country seen only through the lens of struggle. It is now viewed through the lens of strategy, ingenuity, and leadership. And all of it came from reimagining trash. If this part of the story surprised you, let us know in the comments. What other countries do you think could follow this path? And make sure you're subscribed, because in the next part, we're diving into the lives being transformed every day by this movement, not in headlines or policies, but on the ground, where people's lives are changing forever. Walk through the recycling centers of Burkina Faso and you won't just see machinery, you'll see stories. Each plastic bottle, every torn fabric, every rusted can carries a journey not just of material, but of transformation. And behind it all are the faces of people who once had little to nothing, now standing with pride, purpose, and prosperity. Women who once begged for food now own small businesses. Young men who once dreamed of escape now employ others. Trash, once the symbol of decay, has become a badge of dignity. Let's talk about Miriam. Just 5 years ago, she was a widow with 3 children and no income. Today, she leads a team of 20 women who specialize in converting discarded textiles into fashionable export-quality bags. Her products are now sold in 3 countries, and she recently trained a group of young girls in her village to launch their own workshop. Or take Idrissa, a 28-year-old who once tried to cross the Mediterranean in search of work. He was deported back to Burkina Faso with nothing. But instead of giving up, he joined a youth waste cooperative. Today, he runs his own compost business that supplies fertilizer to dozens of farms in his province. His earnings now feed his extended family. These aren't isolated cases, they are part of a wave. Across the nation, thousands of similar stories are unfolding. Not overnight miracles, but step-by-step recoveries built through hard work, community trust, and a belief in the value of even the smallest thing. That's the heart of this revolution, believing that nothing and no one is worthless. And this belief is spreading. Schools now teach students how to build with waste. Churches and mosques organize cleanup drives that feed into recycling initiatives. Local radio stations broadcast success stories of former scavengers now turned eco-entrepreneurs. The narrative has changed. Trash is no longer shameful. It is powerful. It is profitable. And it is proof that with the right vision, even the broken can become beautiful again. Let us not forget, behind every statistic is a human life changed forever. So if you're still watching, we want to hear from you. What do you believe makes a life truly transform? Is it opportunity, community, courage? Tell us in the comments. We read every one. And if you haven't yet, now is the time to subscribe, because stories like Miriam's and Idrissa's deserve to be heard, not just in Burkina Faso, but across the globe. In the next part, we'll look at how this national transformation is not only about waste or economics, but about identity, pride, and the birth of a new cultural mindset. You won't want to miss it. Something remarkable is happening in Burkina Faso, something that goes beyond economics, beyond climate, beyond technology. It is a transformation of identity, because when a nation learns to find value in its waste, it begins to find value in itself. What was once thrown away by society, by the system, by history, is now being picked up, honored, and reimagined. That's not just recycling, that's rebirth. Across towns and villages, children grow up hearing a different kind of story. Not one of despair, but one of resilience. Parents no longer have to say, "There's no work here." Now they say, "Let's build something together." That kind of shift is cultural. It changes how people see themselves. No longer passive victims of global systems, they become architects of their own future. And with that comes pride. A quiet, steady pride that spreads like fire in dry grass. Look at how music, poetry, and visual arts are now incorporating recycled materials and eco-themes. Local festivals now celebrate not just tradition, but innovation born from waste. What once felt like a burden is now a source of national inspiration. And that's important, especially for older generations. Because many elders in Burkina Faso once watched their communities suffer. Youth disappear into exile, and traditions lose ground to hopelessness. But now they witness a new story, a story they can pass on with honor. Grandfathers see their grandsons building solar-powered machines. Grandmothers see their granddaughters designing bags that travel the continent. It's a return to purpose. And for a society that values continuity between generations, this is healing. The elders are not left behind. They are teaching, guiding, even participating. Some serve as advisors to cooperatives. Others use their wisdom to mediate disputes within green collectives. The waste revolution has not only cleaned the land, it has reconnected generations. In a time when so many societies face division between old and young, Burkina Faso is building bridges from the most unexpected material, garbage. So take a moment to reflect. What could be reclaimed in your own community? Is there a tradition, a story, a skill that has been cast aside? Tell us in the comments below. We would love to know. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more of how purpose rises from the dust. Because in the next part, we'll reveal how this movement, born in hardship, is not only surviving, it's expanding beyond every expectation, becoming a beacon for the world. By now it's clear, what's happening in Burkina Faso is no accident. It's not luck, it's vision. A vision that began with a handful of people asking a powerful question: what if garbage wasn't garbage at all? That question has grown into a national movement, and now into an international model. But more than that, it has become a symbol of what is possible when dignity, innovation, and resilience meet. Today, Burkina Faso is no longer simply managing its own trash. It is guiding others. Its example is spreading beyond borders, shaping how development is approached in Africa and far beyond. Experts from Asia, Latin America, and even parts of Europe are now taking notes, trying to understand how a low-income nation with limited resources built a $20 million waste economy from scratch. And the answer they find isn't in machines or money, it's in mindset. That's what sets Burkina Faso apart. It didn't wait for perfect conditions. It created momentum with what it had. And that principle is something every community, every elder, every citizen of the world can take to heart. The Trash to Powerhouse model is now being discussed in international classrooms, featured in sustainability conferences, and even influencing policy drafts within regional economic blocs. Not because it's flawless, but because it's real. And that's what the world needs now. Real solutions rooted in real lives. And let's not forget, this journey began in one of the world's most underestimated nations, a country often overlooked, labeled poor, fragile, unstable. And yet, here it is, not just surviving, but leading. That fact alone should make us pause. Because if Burkina Faso can do this, turn landfills into learning centers, waste into wealth, despair into dignity, then what are we waiting for? Why not us? Why not now? The message from Burkina Faso is loud and clear. Change doesn't start when the world approves. It starts when people decide, and when they persist. That's why this story matters. Because it reminds us that resilience, when combined with courage, can build more than economies. It can build meaning. It can build nations. If this story has moved you, share it. Let others hear it. Use your voice to spread hope. Leave a comment below and let us know what country you believe could be next to follow this model. And if you haven't yet, subscribe now, because in the final part, we bring everything together. The numbers, the people, the future. What comes next is the answer to a question many have been afraid to ask. Can trash really save a nation? And so we arrive in the end. But truly, this is only the beginning. Because what started as a trash crisis in one of Africa's most overlooked countries has become a lighthouse for the rest of the world. Burkina Faso, with its limited resources and endless challenges, has answered a question most nations avoid. Can waste truly become wealth? The answer, etched in every recycled bottle, every new job, every clean street, is a resounding yes. From plastic scraps to solar tech, From compost piles to international exports, the story of Burkina Faso proves that even the forgotten corners of the map can teach the world how to build a future. And not just any future, a green, inclusive, and dignified one. This is not about perfection, it's about progress. And perhaps the greatest progress of all has been in the hearts of the people. A country that once saw waste as something to hide now displays it as a badge of honor. Children grow up learning that nothing is truly useless. Adults find hope in work that cleans their cities and feeds their families. Elders no longer mourn the past, they guide the present. And the entire nation walks forward with a sense of unity that few could have imagined a decade ago. As global headlines scream of environmental collapse and economic despair, Burkina Faso whispers another message, quiet but undeniable. It is possible. It is possible to create value without destroying the earth. It is possible to lift people out of poverty without waiting for foreign aid. It is possible to turn what's broken into something beautiful. And it all begins with how we see the things we throw away. So now, as we close this journey, the question comes to you, what will you do with your trash? What will your community do? Your nation? Because in every plastic bag, every discarded item, there is not just waste. There is potential. And if Burkina Faso can unlock that potential with so little, imagine what we could all do if we chose to begin. So hit that like button if this story has inspired you. Leave us a comment below. What lesson will you take from Burkina Faso? And most of all, subscribe now if you believe that stories like this deserve a place in the world. Thank you for watching. Thank you for thinking differently. And remember, in a world drowning in problems, sometimes the answer is already in our hands. It just looks like trash until we choose to see the treasure within.